So this is a topic that actually for a long time was very, very sensitive for me. And if my younger self would have told me that, or if my younger self knew that I was going to talk about not being married and being over the age of 40, I think I would have freaked out, because it's often been very sensitive. You know, many of you guys ask me, and rightfully so, you know, are you married? Do you have children? What's your deal? Are you dating, etc.? Totally get it. Fair question, right? And I've always been transparent with you guys. I've never been married. I am currently single. I'm dating, or rather, you know, online dating and doing that whole online thing, which y'all know how I feel about that, but I'm trying. But no, I've never had children. And, you know, the topic of marriage, especially when you're over 40 and you're a woman, is something that can be touchy, I think, for many of us. It certainly has been touchy for me. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about my story and also tell you why I think this is really important for us all to talk about. First of all, like I said, never been married, but I have been engaged. I was engaged about 4 years or so ago, very short-lived. I ended the engagement. That was absolutely the right thing to do, and I'm happy that I did that. Never looked back. Okay, so that is, you know, I was engaged once. I've never had children, but I have frozen my eggs before I turned 40. Actually, my parents, it was my parents actually who encouraged me to freeze my eggs. And I remember being like completely offended by them saying it. I was like, what, you think I can't find no man? What, you think I can't get no man? What you trying to say? I was so offended. I was like, what? And I literally talked to some of my girlfriends telling them this story, like, you'll never believe what my parents told me to do. And they were like, oh yeah, I've frozen my eggs. And I was like, what, huh? Come again? Anyway, long story short, I've done a video on that. So ladies and gentlemen, for the ladies in your life, take a look at that. Egg freezing is really a thing, and it's an important thing for many of us. And I froze my eggs twice before the age of 40. I didn't get a lot of eggs the first time, and then I got more the second time. So I do have eggs in the freezer. I pay egg rent every year, but I've never had children, etc. So I know a lot of you are probably like, well, why have you never been married? Let me first start out by just like real talk. You know, I think one of the hardest things about never having been married, being over the age of 40, etc., is I've always been afraid of what people think about that. And maybe it's not the thing you're thinking about, right? There is a lot of societal pressure to be married, to have children, especially in certain cultures, in certain parts of the world, etc. So that exists. But interestingly enough, my parents never put a lot of pressure on me to get married and procreate, have children. In fact, sometimes I wish they put more pressure on me. Maybe I would have made it more a priority, but I don't blame this on them. I've always been worried about the stigma that I have always felt attached to it. My younger brother is married with a beautiful wife and a beautiful family. And my brother, I've always looked to for guidance and advice. I always say, like, he was like the normal one, the one with a lot of common sense between the two of us. And I always used to, I don't know, I would talk to him about things. I was always worried about people thinking there must be something wrong with me because I'm unmarried and over the age of 40. I mean, okay, let's just be real. You see someone, you're like, why aren't they married? What's wrong with them? What's their problem? There must be something. She crazy, right? Is that not something that people wonder about or worry about? And yes, sometimes. And I'm not putting everybody under the bus, but I'm just saying that is something I have always been worried and bashful about. Are people going to think there's something wrong with me? And well, shoot, there might be. I don't know, but I don't want that. The other thing is, you know, sometimes people have opinions. Well, oh, you must be picky. Oh, you must this, you must that. And, you know, what I worried about and what I have always been sensitive to with not being married and being over the age of 40 were those things, those thoughts from other people. Why isn't she married? What's wrong with her? She must not be picking right. Well, you know, and I get it. I don't blame people for wondering. And I'm not saying everyone has those thoughts, but I know some might. And that has always been rough for me. So why am I not married? All right. I'm going to tell you the answer, but let me just tell you what I was doing and where my mind was, because this makes, I think, is a big thing. You know, when I was young, I didn't dream about getting married and having babies. It's not that I didn't think I would do that. It's just that wasn't in my dreams. To be honest with you, I was always worried that I wouldn't be successful. everybody, I think, has an Achilles heel. Everybody has something. And I honestly was at some points during my education career, whether it was in music school or at Princeton or whatever, there were times when I was definitely afraid of not being successful. And when I say successful, I'm not talking about money and stuff like that. I'm talking about just making it, right? Succeeding, making it to med school, passing my boards, and I did all of those things, but that was always front and center. When I was in my 20s, to be honest with you, I was just trying to make my parents proud and to become something, because I honestly was truly afraid that I wouldn't be. That was something I worried about. And you know what? I didn't take dating very seriously. I dated in med school. I dated people in med school. I didn't take it very seriously. In my 30s, I still was that way through half of my 30s. But what happened was, around the time I started freezing my eggs, my latter part of my 30s, I actually started panicking about the fact that I wasn't married. And I remember specifically talking to my mom being like, why didn't I take this seriously? Why didn't I make better decisions? And I started thinking back to all the guys I dated being like, oh, should I go back? Maybe he was one. Why didn't I, and I tortured myself. Crucified myself because I said, how could you not have taken this seriously? What did you do? You let all this time pass and now you're almost 40, and what the flip? How did we get here? Because all of a sudden I was approaching 40 and my parents were like, you need to freeze your eggs. I was like, ah. And I was really hard on myself during that time. I really, really was hard on myself. I was remorseful. I was regretful. I was embarrassed. And I felt like I had wasted a lot of time. And then in my 40s, which I am, I'm proud to say that things have gotten a little bit better for me, meaning how much or little rather I beat myself up. The reason why I haven't gotten married is honestly because I haven't found him yet. And you know what? It was one day that it literally took me waking up one morning where I had blamed myself and said, well, maybe you are too picky. Well, maybe you are crazy. And maybe you didn't take this seriously. And why didn't you do this? And why weren't you this? And I can't believe you did this. And how did you let 15 years go by without thinking about this? But you know what? The bottom line that I actually came to a realization about, and there's a lesson in this. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. It's not just bearing my soul, which I am, but there's a reason. I recently, by the way, in the last couple of weeks, encountered a couple of younger ways to great careers and stuff, and talking to them, I remembered a lot about my younger self, how insecure I was, how worried I was about so many things. And one thing I have never really felt settled about is my relationship status. Yes, I'm in and out of relationships here and there, but I spend more time out of relationships than in them. And people are like, why? What's wrong? I'm always worried. People are like, what's wrong with her? But you know what? I feel so much better about this. So the thing is, though, I finally woke up one day recently in the last couple years. Actually, the pandemic, I think, really helped me with this. And I woke up and I said, you're not married because you haven't met him. Jen, you haven't met him. If I had met him, I'd be married. I don't look back. And even though I've tried to look back and say, oh, maybe it was him, did I pass him by, maybe I should go, there's no one in my past that I feel like I should go back to. And there's no disrespect to any of the men that I've dated. If you're watching this, I love you all. And I really do. I'm friends with most of my exes. I have no hard feelings. But the truth of the matter is, I finally had to accept what for me was a relief, which was that I haven't met him. And it's reminded me and re-taught me that things only happen the way they're supposed to and in the time that they're supposed to. See, I'm saying this now because maybe for you, it's not that you're over 40 and not married. Maybe it's a child thing. Maybe it's a work thing. Maybe it's a something else thing with you. Maybe you look at other people and say, if only I coulda, woulda, shoulda, or I'm not that. You don't know how many times I look at Instagram posts and Facebook posts all the time. I look at so many amazing female doctor colleagues, and I look at them and I am so proud of my female doctor colleagues. And I see many of them have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, I didn't figure that out. I couldn't make that happen. I have not been successful at that. And then I have to stop myself and say, my path was not supposed to be everyone else's path. Our paths are individual. Each one of our paths are independent of others. And we are not like our peers. We are not like our family. We are not like our friends. We are us. And the truth of the matter is, when I finally got that idea through my thick skull, it kind of helped me a bit. Regardless of who it is you're meant to be with, if you're supposed to have children, if you're supposed to have a certain job, if you're supposed to do a certain thing, whatever it is, for me, releasing myself from the past of what it should have happened, what I should have done, who I should have been, has been the greatest gift of all. That's a Whitney Houston song. The greatest gift of all. I think she says the greatest gift of all is loving yourself or something like that. And I don't mean to sound all like woo-woo, but this is for all the women out there who may be in my boat, who's over 40, not married. I'm not even close to married. I'm not dating a guy seriously. And it terrifies me to think that in order to have a child, the time that it's going to take me to find a guy, you know, lock that in, you know, get married, have a kid, it makes me want to vomit, just being very honest with you, because I'm overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't even know. Am I going to be too old to have a kid? I don't know. But the bottom line is that I have to trust the process. I have to trust life. I have to trust God, who I believe in, trust whomever, whatever you believe in. And I also have to trust that what has happened in my life was not supposed to happen any other way. I was not supposed to be anyone else. I couldn't have been a different Jennifer. I couldn't have been a Jennifer in my 20s who was more secure with her professional life and invested more in relationships. I couldn't be a different Jennifer in my 30s. I can't be anyone else. And this is why I say, don't be afraid to be who you are. It's okay. It's okay if the chips and the puzzle pieces don't line up like everyone else's. It's okay if you don't have the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and a dog and a Volkswagen or whatever. It's pretty cool, but it's not required. And who knows? I mean, look, I'm going to be making videos until I can't. So I might literally be a 65-year-old first-time mom. Watch, okay? And I'm not saying that God to wish that at 65 I have a kid. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you see me over here pushing with a walker and a baby on my hip, okay? All I know is that sometimes you just have to accept life, the life that we were given. And it's not bad. My life is fantastic. But sometimes there can be a lot of pressure with certain things in our lives. Don't beat yourself up for whatever it is you think you should have been, or you think you should have done, or you think you should have become. Because what was supposed to happen, it could never have happened a different way. I learned that from Oprah. That's not an original idea, by the way. It was an Oprah episode, and I believe the episode was, this was years ago when she had her show, because y'all know how much I love Oprah. And I believe the episode was about, was featuring victims of child sexual abuse or child abuse. And I do not in any way relate what I'm describing to that. But there was something from that episode that I took that I'll never forget, which is, she and the therapists and the psychologists and the health practitioners were talking with the victims, and they were talking about this concept that, sometimes forgiving yourself and accepting things is about recognizing and realizing that what has happened could never have happened any different way. And as much as I sometimes beat up on myself for, why can't you get it together? Why can't you just find a man? Why don't you have a kid? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? And I know this may seem maybe vain or not even a big deal in the world's problems that we have today, and I recognize this. But I'm just here to say that anything is okay. And I have to tell myself that on a daily basis, but it's true. And the same thing goes for you. If you don't want to get married or don't want to have kids, or it's not your time or it hasn't been your time, or you want a certain job or don't want a job, or you want to marry somebody who looks like you, who doesn't, whatever the case is, there are no rules about this. That is one good thing that time has brought us, right? So as time has gone on, more things are acceptable. So like I said, I might be walking around here with a walker or a wheelchair with the baby on my lap. Don't laugh at me, okay? I'll be the definition of a geriatric first-time mom. Don't think I won't start a blog about that. I pray that that's not when it happens. But to all the young women and all the women and men out there that are trying to forge their path, young, old, or what have you, don't get caught up in what people think you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be. And just because you don't follow the rules doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're crazy or you're this or that. It just means you're you. and you weren't supposed to be any other way. So take it from me. It's okay. We'll get through this together. Whatever it is you're going through, let me know. Do you guys have any woulda, shoulda, couldas? Do you have any of those in your life that you think about? Are there things in your life that you say, gosh, why didn't I? I could have. Why didn't I? I regret. I feel like I've missed out. Do you feel like that about anything? Career, school, kids, family, I don't know, a long lost love. I'm curious, write in the comments. Let me know. But just know that you're just fine the way you are. You're perfect the way you are. So, a little message I needed to give. But yes, when I meet him, I'm going to know. When I meet him, you will be some of the first people to know because I will be shouting it from the rooftops. But I haven't met him yet. And I pray to God that I do meet him. But until then, I'll just keep doing my best because what else can you do, right? Anyway, guys, I love you. Just a little thought from my heart that I wanted to sort of share with you guys. I appreciate all of your questions and also making me think about this. And for anyone out there, know you're enough and it's okay, whatever it is. If you're not liked and follow my page, please do. I do daily videos on all sorts of stuff. Clearly also my relationships and my my lack of children at this point. But you know, that's what we do here. For those of you who send stars, I see you guys. You're amazing. I'm going to respond to you personally. You just warm my heart and you just make me feel so warm and accepted. And that's all we really need in life, right? Isn't that all we need? Anyway, guys, you're awesome. And oh, let me also just say, by the way, one of you just wrote that I don't need to wait for a man to have a child, and you are so right about that. Do not think that has not crossed my mind. So that's what we call no rules, or rather the rules are what we decide we need to do. I have some eggs in the freezer. I got them in the bank. I pay their egg rent every year, so who knows? There are a lot of options, but there are a lot of options for a lot of us, so let's not forget that. Guys, I love y'all, okay? All right, I'll talk to you soon.